The November 28th, 2011 meeting of the Planning and Economic Development Committee will now come to order. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Esposito? Here. Mr. Hanna? Here. Chairman Holland?
Here.
Mr. Monroe? Here. Mr. McCann?
Here. Is there anyone signed up for the public forum?
There's not.
Is there anyone present who is not signed up to speak who would like to address the committee at this time? First, I'd like to introduce Kate Bennett, Executive Director of the Rochester Museum and Science Center, who's here to give a presentation on the Rochester Museum and Science Center. Thank you. You're welcome.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here. Usually I come and talk to you in October or November. Your November meeting was postponed, so I am here and happy to be here almost in December. So I hope you all had a very happy Thanksgiving. We certainly did. I want to tell you a little bit about what's been going on at the museum with your help, because what we do at the Rochester Museum and Science Center, we could not do without the support of the Monroe County Legislature. And it's very important to us that you support us. The very important work that we're doing this year is to take a very good hard look at our strategic plan and understand what is it that we are uniquely positioned to do so that the community gets the value they need to get from our work. This has been a theme that we have been speaking about for years, and as we unfolded our ideas, we kept saying, how does this help the economic vitality of our region? Because we know that all of us have to lock arms and proceed forward. So there's two different ways that I really want you to understand that we think we can make our greatest contribution. One is in the exhibitions that we put on display for the community. Today is the last day of the September 11th, 2001 memorial exhibition that we had, which was of enormous value to this community in terms of healing, in terms of pride, and in terms of so many things. That followed the dinosaur exhibition we had here in the winter. What's terrific about dinosaur exhibitions is that almost 20% of our visitors come from Buffalo and Syracuse to visit. And we know from our studies that not only are they coming to visit the museum and paying admission to the museum, they're also buying gas, they're going to restaurants, and they are spending money in our county. And so together with the other museums, we do a remarkable job in that area. We are embarking on a bunch of exhibitions for this coming year that will be very exciting. Extreme Mammals opens on December 23rd, and mammals are extremely interesting, and we have this major exhibition for the American Museum of Natural History that goes on display and will go through April, and has many exciting elements to it. And we hope you'll come visit then. We got a major grant from a donor that allows us to bring county students, especially urban and rural. So if you think about the rural areas of our county and you think about the urban areas of our county, sometimes those are the kids who need the experiences most. And the grant that we got will help us bring those kids to the museum both through admissions and pay for busing, because all the schools have said to us we have to cut out the money that we are using for field trips in the school busing. So we are doing our level best to make sure that we're here for the students and making it possible for them to come visit exhibits like Extreme Mammals. In the fall, we opened Tyrannosaurus Rex exhibit, which is a real skeleton of a dinosaur, a fossilized skeleton. T-Rex named Sue. It was dug up. It's on display at the Field Museum, and it's coming to Rochester. So next year, 2012, we have exhibits from the American Museum of Natural History in New York City and one from the Field Museum in Chicago. So we think these are two blockbuster exhibits that add to the vitality of our county. The final thing I want to talk about today is workforce preparation. The very essential thing that we are hearing from every business is that not enough people are coming in qualified to do their work. And so each step we take is making sure that we are helping the kids learn workforce skills, you know, those very basic elements, and to also make sure that they understand how fun the STEM areas are, the science, the technology, the engineering, and math, and to make decisions early enough in their life so that they're going on in middle school and taking those courses, and going on in high school and taking those courses that will qualify them to go to MCC and take technical courses there, but to really get a head start. We know we have to provide support in that because the community needs that kind of workforce preparation desperately. So those are the two areas that I wanted to make sure you understood that we are working on. We understand it's our job. Next year is our 100th anniversary as a museum. So this is quite amazing for us to think that we've been around for 100 years. For our first many years, we were a city agency. We became a county supported organization in 1968. And ever since then, you've been a vital and important part of our ability to do things for the community. If you have ideas, please let us know. We'd love to do what you need so that we can multiply the dollars for the community. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Our next presentation will be Scott Adair, Chief Financial Officer, who is here to present the 2012 proposed Monroe County budget. A Q&A session will follow his presentation.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you, Chairman Holland, for allowing us the opportunity to present the portion of the County Executive's proposed 2012 budget as it relates to the Planning and Economic Development Committee. As you can see, the proposed 2012 county budget is balanced. It maintains the property tax rate at the $8.99 tax rate that we've included since 2008. It is both compliant with the 2007 County Taxpayer Protection Act and the state's new property tax cap. We are presently going through the calculation on the property tax cap, as we've all realized that the information has been slow coming out of the state of New York. We've gotten to the bottom of a number of issues and we're still resolving them, but we rest assured the 2012 budget as it's presented here today is compliant with that cap based on the estimates that we've included for that. In the 2012 operating budget, the Planning and Economic Development area is included in both the mandated and non-mandated services area. That budget overall is increased by 0.9%. Where are those expenses inside of the 2012 budget? The total expenses for planning and economic development are included in the other section of the county budget, which is approximately 5% of the total operating budget. The revenues for planning and economic development are included in the other section of the operating budget, which is approximately 12.2% of the total operating budget. These revenues for planning and economic development include community development block grant dollars, COMITA, MCIDC reimbursement, and reimbursement from Rochester Works. Included in this total is also real property taxes are used to support as part of the county's real property tax levy to support planning and economic development purposes. Once again, as part of the overall budget, we present to you that the mandated and non-mandated portions of the budget for 2012, and again, those percentages have not changed from 2011. 82% of our costs are mandated, 18% are non-mandated. Ultimately, there's one area for this committee to focus on, and that's planning and economic development. On this slide in front of you, you can see that the appropriations or the expenses in the 2012 budget are down approximately $35,000, along with the reimbursement revenues being down about $12,000, ultimately equating to an $821,000 taxpayer-supported organization to be used for job retention and creation, land use planning, housing and neighborhood preservation, and employment and training services. There are 4 divisions inside of planning and economic development. They're listed here on this slide. All of them are relatively static from last year, with the exception of community development, which is down approximately $50,000 as far as its overall expenses go. At that time, it concludes my presentation for planning and economic development, and we'd be more than willing to take questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Scott. Are there any questions? Legislator Esposito.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Mr. Adair. Appreciate the presentation. Glad you get to start off slow with this committee. One of the objectives listed in the beginning of this section of the budget is to complete remaining green space initiatives. Could you elaborate, through you, Mr. Chairman, on what those might be, what projects might be pending, or how much we might have left that we're talking about?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, I'm Paul Johnson with the Planning and Development Department. We currently have 3 active projects with the Green Space Initiative, the Town and Village of Webster with the Hojack Trail Project. There's a park project in the town of Chilai, Widener Park, and the third project is escaping me right now, actually. There is one other small-scale project in one of the towns that involves a similar park trail project.
And off the top of your head, through you, Mr. Chairman, do you have any idea how much we will have left in this fund or for projects like this when those are completed?
Through the chair, we have committed the original $2 million, which the legislature authorized for open space projects using the tobacco settlement funds. That account, if you will, has earned some interest over the intervening years, and some of those monies have been used for other projects, and I think, I haven't checked recently, but the balance of reserve funds is about $300,000.
Thank you. And through you, Mr. Chairman, is there any plans for that money, or is there any plan to continue this initiative with another funding source?
Through the chair, there are no specific plans at this time, no.
Okay. Thank you very much. On page 216, when we get to some of the funding revenues for this portion of the budget. We note that the contribution from MCIDC is increasing this year, and I would like to ask through you, Mr. Chairman, to the administration for an explanation about that.
Through the chair, Judy Seil, the Director of Planning and Development for Director of Planning and Development. The reason for the increase was there was increased work due to issuance of bonds this year through MCIDC and the staff. It was allocated to the staff time for that.
Okay, so through you, Mr. Chairman, it's a direct reimbursement for additional work done by county staff and not an increased revenue from the IDC in general.
It was due to the increase in staff time.
Okay, thank you very much. And through you, Mr. Chairman, the funding from Comida is remaining the same this year. Was there not a corresponding increase in staff time or resources for work through Comida?
Through the chair, there was not an increase due to the fact that the bonds are now issued through MCIDC.
And through you, Mr. Chairman, was there not a drop-off? Are we starting to see any sort of allocation of staff or resources focusing much more on the IDC projects rather than the IDA projects?
Through the chair, depending on what kind of financing the project is looking for, whether it's a for-profit or not-for-profit, would be through MCIDC or through Comida.
I understand that. Okay, thank you. That's fine. I just wanted to make sure I understood why we had an increase in revenue this year. Through you, Mr. Chairman, on page 216, under job performance measures, the number of jobs impacted is dropping this year from 11,341 to a flat 6,000 in the next 2 years. I was just looking through you, Mr. Chairman, for an explanation to the administration as to the difference in numbers for the next couple of years.
Through the chair, it's basically a guess on how many jobs will be impacted because it's the retention of jobs in the community.
And through you, Mr. Chairman, how do you go about guessing that or trying to figure out that number?
Well, we looked at the number of projects that were we financed in 2008 or 2010. It was 122, and that number could be down next year. I mean, it depends on how many companies will be coming in with new build projects, and that's what we base it on. And we don't see as many new building projects coming in.
Okay, and through you, Mr. Chairman, I would gather that the estimated number for the current year that we're in being lower, both for the impacted jobs and created jobs, is just, well, could I have an explanation on that through you, Mr. Chairman?
Through the chair, it's just an estimate of what we think will be coming in. I hate to overestimate the number of jobs, especially new or impacted.
And when do you, through you, Mr. Chairman, have the actual numbers for 2011?
Through the chair at the end of the year.
Okay. Thank you very much. In your presentation, Mr. Adair mentioned that the only spot that has a drop-off is the Community Development Division. I note that I think Mr. Adair mentioned it drops off by $50,000. I'd like to ask through you, Mr. Chairman, to the administration for further explanation of that reduction.
Through the chair, as we talked about when we released the budget, there was an elimination of one position in the planning and economic development area, and it was in this particular area. And that's the reduction in expenses.
Thank you. And through you, Mr. Chairman, is there any particular service or program delivery that's going to be affected by the loss of that position?
Through the chair, that would be no.
Okay. And through you, Mr. Chairman, just for our purposes, what is the position that was eliminated?
Through the chair, Senior Community Development Specialist.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Chairman, if I may continue, the county's contribution to GRE, I don't believe is listed directly in this section of the budget. Just wanted to clarify through you, Mr. Chairman, to the administration. Is that funding remaining flat? From what I understand, it's listed in the contractual services expenditure to the county. Is that correct?
Through the chair, that is correct, $50,000.
$50,000. Thank you very much. And through you, Mr. Chairman, do we know what the Comida contribution will be to GRE this year?
Through the chair, $100,000.
Thank you very much. I believe those are my questions for this section of the budget, Mr. Chairman.
Is there anyone else that has a question? If not, the next item on the agenda is the approval of minutes. You have the July 25th, 2011 minutes before you. They will stand approved unless the clerk is notified of any changes by the end of the day. Are there any other matters to come before this committee? There being none, there being no further business, the November 28th, 2011 meeting of the Planning and Economic Development Committee stands adjourned. The next meeting of the Planning and Economic Development Committee will be announced. I'm sorry.